The definition of a holistic view is that all aspects of people's needs, psychological, physical, and social, should be taken into account and seen as a whole. Holistic relationships is leading the charge in sparking real conversations that transcend the ordinary, aiming not only to explore life's intricate facets, but also to inspire positive change and cultivate better approaches to every topic we touch. In the realm of love and relationships, marriage and divorce, parenting struggles and single parenting triumphs, toxic relationships, and the liberating journey out of codependence, our goal is crystal clear. We are architects of change, crafting blueprints for better, more holistic relationships that stand the test of time. This isn't just a show or podcast. It is a movement. Each show is an invitation to recalibrate one's perspective, to rethink conventional norms, and to embark on a journey towards a more fulfilling life. From the nuanced dance of co-parenting to the empowering pursuit of self-confidence, we are here to guide you towards positive transformation, empowerment of self and others, setting goals, building legacies, and collecting fortune with purpose. Holistic relationships is more than a show, it's a philosophy. We navigate the complex terrain of aging gracefully and achieving optimal health and weight loss, shedding light on compatibility in relationships, and imparting wisdom on the art of dating and courtship. Join us as we forge a community committed to positive change, where every conversation is a catalyst for growth, every revelation is a step towards understanding, and every piece of advice is a key to unlocking a more holistic and fulfilling life. Welcome to Holistic Relationships, where the pursuit of better, more meaningful connections begin, and positive change is not just encouraged, but celebrated. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Alive Holistic Relationships. And this is a crossover show with the Black Coffee Wake Up Hour. So we are talking a little bit about politics and our relationship with politics. That's why it's important here. So welcome. I'm Dr. Shantae, for those who do not know me. I'm going to just take a minute just to write, because we kind of got this as a little webinar thing going on. So I just want to make sure. And I'm going to post this, that this is our Holistic Relationship Show crossover with the Black Coffee Wake Up Hour. So it is just going to be me at the moment, but I am always adding on more people. I know my computer is all the way over here. I was supposed to be over here just sitting, but that's okay. It's okay. I don't have a problem. I'll scoot up a little bit. Crossover show with the Black Coffee Wake Up Hour. I'm not spelling today. Oh, what is going on here? Okay. So I put that over there in the chat so it can pop up on all the different places. So this is what this segment with this show is for today. And I got everything. We good. All right. So on this wake up hour, I got the plan. I was inspired to work on this plan for people who want to see real change in their communities, no matter what background you come from, no matter if you're white, black, pink, purple, or orange, no matter who you are or what your ethnicity is. But if you live in a neighborhood of your peers or a mixed neighborhood, whatever the neighborhood consist of. If you want to see change in your neighborhood, if you want to see that, if you want to be able to say, hey, this whole thing that the Harris Waltz ticket is saying about the first time or first generation homeowner incentive and program that they're trying to push, if they were to get elected, you want to be amongst the 400 million, or is it 400,000 or 400 million? I'll double check to see what that number is. But if you want to be one of those people to qualify for that program, then listen up. You have to prepare yourself. I love how one of my favorite motivational speakers put it, Les Brown, and I believe he said he got the quote from Whitney Young, that it is better to be ready for an opportunity and not have it yet than to have the opportunity and in front of you and not be ready. So what do you need to do today as a registered voting citizen that wants to become a homeowner? What do you need to be doing today? Because it is not far from reach. It's not. It's just we have to learn how to play chess and not checkers. What did Taraji say? It's about chess and not checkers. So let me give you the little quick course, a little quick political course, right? I can't qualify for that program because I'm not a first-time home buyer. Not anymore. I have bought more than one property, but I want to see more people be able to do this. And that is why I want to share this information. How do you do it? So number one, no matter what state you're in, you need to go to the site for you to look up how to register to vote, how to update your registration. Now, some states, and because this is a form of voter suppression, some states may have it where you can't do it online. They don't make it so user friendly for you. But if you're in a state that doesn't do that, let me give you the game on how we put some pressure on them so that they can stop playing. They're playing with us. The little games, they're playing, the little politics over here, right? So we're gonna put some pressures on some of them states. This is the Black Coffee Wake Up Hour. Man, we're about to do this. So this is how you are going to do this. So you're going to make sure that you're registered to vote. And then you're going to put in your smartphone a week before the deadline. So for whatever your state, your council, your precinct, whatever verbiage that they use, wherever you are from in this country, you put that deadline in your smartphone a week before. And then you go there and make sure that you are registered to vote, that your address matches what's on your ID. Maybe you have a driver's license, state ID. Get your paperwork in order because all of that has to match. And there may be some places where they may overlook it, but there are some places that are going to be looking at every little thing just meticulously. They're going to look at everything. So you want to make sure that you are up to speed with this. Cross your T's, dot your I's 3 times over. Now, that week before, you go and make sure that nothing is wrong with your voter's registration. If you've moved, if you've done anything that week before, I suggest you don't move if you can't. Don't do anything that is going to change your voter's registration because you need to be able to go to the precinct or don't move and be like, oh, I had moved and they didn't update it. They're not going to. It's not their responsibility to do it. So you get up, get the right mentality, get your butts into an address and stay there until after this election is over. Do not move. Make sure ID, driver's license, school ID, whatever it is, make sure it matches. Everything matches. Okay, to your phone bill, whatever, everything matches. You make sure that your voter's registration matches the address that you put on. You make sure that you know the precinct in the area that you are supposed to be casting your ballot. Remember, Michelle Obama said at the DNC, it's about the plan now, the voting plan now. What do you do now? Because even after registering to vote, you're not done. You're not done. So the next step, the next thing you have to do after that is get your voting plan. Do you want to be standing in them long ass lines? Because I don't stand in lines. I do early voting every rip. Early voting. So on the day of voting, I'm not out there with the crowds and trying, because that is a deterrent. That is to make you say, "Oh, fuck it, I'm just gonna go home." That is why allowing or having different ways for us to vote in 2024, we shouldn't have to sit in lines like in the 1950s and all that. We shouldn't be able to do that. We need to be up to date with how we're in 2024. We should be able to send in a mail-in ballot if need be. We should be able to do online and send it by certified receipt to make sure that you can track that mail-in ballot, to make sure it gets where we're supposed to be if you're going to do that mail-in ballot option. Or you can go to the polling place that is assigned for your precinct, your city and state, for you to cast that vote during the early voting period. So make sure you got your ears to the ground or you're listening for when they say you need to do this, and then you just go and get it out the way. And now you have done your civic duty. That is the first step of many steps, because you're not done yet. So what I was saying about those places where you have deadlines, you got to check a week before to make sure that your voters registration is up to par, that there's nothing wrong. Next, make sure you know the business hours. If you got to go into the place, if you do it online, you got to know when the shutout is. You need to know how to do that. You need to be able to go to the place and make sure that your stuff is ready so that you don't have a problem when it's time to do early voting, or when it's a time, or when it's on election day, because there is no registering to vote during that time. That's why they have all those cutoffs. So you need to know where you live and what the rules are. So that's your plan. The day before the deadline. Now, another reminder should be jumping out at you at your smartphone, and you go and check. Now, once you check and you're good the day before that deadline, they've sent you something in the mail. Maybe you get something in the mail, something printed out, or you print it offline or something. Maybe that's what you got. I don't know about. But the next thing that you do, the minute they allow for early voting, or for like with mail-in ballots, whenever that opens up, do it. Because election day is always on a Tuesday. You may have to be at work, can't leave work, and then you'll be late for work trying to go to vote before work. Just don't be silly about this. Let's not wait until the last minute on election days. That don't always work. That's how, because you're busy. Life be lifing. You be busy. Your child may have a fever that day. You may have a fever that day. Do not wait until the last minute to do this. Now, once you've done that and you've casted your vote and you say, "I voted," make sure for the people who are part of our movement, the Black Coffee Political Alliance Voting Block, make sure you do the hashtag "I voted" on our page for Black Coffee Political Alliance. Now, this is the thing, because you can start this next thing for what we want to prepare for. You want to be prepared for this opportunity. We ain't going back. We want to make sure that the little pilot tricks that these other states are doing is very subtle means of voter suppression. So maybe they're not lynching in the way of the broad daylight, the way they used to do us, our people back in the day, our grandparents and great grandparents. Maybe they're not doing that. And there are some places where they're still doing that, that have more physical and intimidating means of keeping people from going into that voting box. But the more subtle, discreet, and kind of hat and then throwing a stone hat in your hand way of doing it is by dumping your registration and changing the rules up, right? They just making it difficult for you, or your polling place is 50 miles away from where you live. You don't have a car, there's no Uber, no Lyft, you don't have the money to get there. So this is why your voting plan is important, especially for the people who are living at poverty level, or you're on the social programs and you need the help, you're in the middle class and you need the help. This is why having your voting plan is important. Know what you're doing for this to make sure that you get your vote casted on time and within the range and the time allowed to do it. Okay? Because to sit on your butt and not do anything, this is going to help for the people, for the races that I don't want these people in my neighborhood. Okay, well, help us get some homes and opportunities so we can be in our own neighborhoods. Help us to get to this program so we can stay where we are and we can build our own and build in our own communities among our peers and around the people that we trust, and we don't view each other as criminals. We don't do that. Black people, we love each other for the most part. For the most part, we're not afraid of us. We know how to talk to us. We know how to give them looks to one another. We know the nonverbal cues. Okay, that's just part of the culture. That's what we know. I'm not afraid of walking by Black men when I see them, homeless or not, because we already know what the looks mean. Don't start none, won't be none. But we already know. So that's just part of the culture. So for those of you who are out there like, oh, I have my Black friend, but you're really not for us and you really don't want to see us in communities, well, you can help vote for us so that we can get our own stuff in our own damn communities, so that we can do this ourselves and stay to ourselves, because we don't have to integrate. We don't. We can just live around each other just fine. We just need opportunity and resources allocated to our neighborhood so that we can build our Wakanda. Our ancestors built this country, so we already got in our DNA the ability to build and to grow and to prosper. So Gen Z, millennials, come on, let's get to it. Gen Xers, not some of y'all ain't at Medicare age yet. So y'all too, come on to this. Some are, some not, but y'all come on in with this too. Roll your sleeves up and come on with us. Boomers, you may have to keep your very traditional viewpoints about the government and voting and all that other stuff that y'all been telling us all for years about stuff, how it ain't working out and this person cricket, and keep that to yourselves. Keep that to yourselves right now, because you are going into your golden years. You are becoming the seniors, and you're going to be joining the ancestors soon. So just sit back and let us do this without resistance. You know that you've aged out of this conversation a bit. We tend to think a little bit more liberal, a little more forward-going. So we already got this conversation that we're going to have with our elders about this anyway. But your viewpoints, keep them. If they're negative, keep them and take them to the grave with you. But what we're trying to do, we're trying to make real change, not just for our lives, but also for our children, our children's children. And these children we got to raise, because most of y'all ain't staying home watching our kids the way that y'all parents was helping y'all with us. So please stay out of the conversation and just vote blue. Okay. Now, the Xers that I was talking about, that's not of Medicare age yet. Okay. The Gen Xers, come on. Y'all got some little fire with you too. Millennials, my group, come on. Gen Z, come on. Let's get it. We are the voting electorate here. We got to get this going. We're going to become homeowners, okay? Even down to the youngest of us, you're going to be homeowners, okay? I'm about to give you the game, okay? Thank you guys for joining the Black Coffee Wake Up Hour crossover with holistic relationships. So I thank you all for joining in and tuning in. Okay. So this is CHMD TV, Black Coffee, Wake Up Hour again with the crossover with Holistic Relations that I have every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. I just want to put a little shout out for that, just for the show, because this is the time slot that we're in. So we're having our conversation about the relationship with politics. So for those of you that are just tuning in, this is the Black Coffee Wake Up Hour crossover. We're talking about getting ourselves ready. Those of you that want to be homeowners, you got to vote blue. The blue NAMI about to hit. We need to get some homeowners. Gen Z, millennials, Gen Xers, that's not at Medicare age. Not to discriminate for those who are of Medicare age. I'm just saying that to say they may have more traditional and conservative views, and we really don't need any confusion, right? We need to move forward. Okay. So we just need them to kind of, they're elders. We respect y'all, but we just need you to vote blue and let us help you retain the benefits that you worked your whole life for to get, so that you can get Medicare, to get your Social Security. We want to help you maintain that because we got kids to raise. And for some reason, it ain't like when y'all first had kids, when y'all had us. Y'all had y'all parents and grandparents and maybe even great grandparents and everybody helping y'all with us. It ain't like that for us now. So we got to help y'all and we got to help our young. So you got to vote blue with us so we can help you and make sure that you don't lose what you need while putting more strain on us, who still has to look out for you and look out for our kids. All right. So that's the conversation that we have in here with the culture. All right. Part one to this, to utilizing this by having your voting plan. Planning for the second Tuesday of November, election day. What does that look like? Whatever state you're in, you need to go and look for the rules. I know they like to move the goalposts on that. They like to move the goalposts. That's part of the voter suppression tricks because they try to, trick us with that. So you need to know what those deadlines are. You want to put a reminder on your smartphone a week before the deadline for you to be completely registered to vote. You need a deadline in your phone to remind you to do that. But now, a week before that, now, you might have to go into that office. You can do that. You might have to go there. Go to a local office that's going to allow you to do it. And then they have business hours. So you might have to plan for this. Meaning, you may have to take off, or you may have to get off early. You may have to go on a day that you have off. You need to know that so that you know when that deadline is. But just put them reminders in your smartphones. Put on your calendar, computer, however you get your reminders. You put another reminder the day before to make sure that your voter's registration is still active, current, accurate. Do not move residences between now and the second Tuesday of November, election day. Don't leave, don't move. No, stay put. Because you need to know what precinct you got to show up to cast your vote. Make sure that if you're more in a progressive state that has online voting, mail-in ballots, or something like that going on, make sure then you can just utilize it. Just make sure you have a plan. Utilize the early voting. Don't try to be out there with the millions of people that's going to be standing in the line and on election day. Come on now, people. For those of us that live in the northern states, that's November. Chances are it may be a little cold. It may be a little wintry. It may be a little snowy that day. Don't let the weather be a determinant now. Come on, determine it now. Election day is in November. It's cold. I don't know why they got it like that, but I don't know why they can't do it in the summer or the spring or something, when the climates where we live tends to be cold. So maybe it was designed to be a deterrent, but who knows? But I ain't gonna get into the extreme of that and how it's like that and why it's like that. But you want to make sure Because again, I never go on election day. I utilize early voting everywhere. So I can be in and out and I'll be done. I'll be done with my day and I can go and get my Starbucks if I want. So I do that. I get it before I go in. It may be Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, whoever. I go get it, go to the polling place. I'm good. I do early voting. And that is what Michelle Obama meant during the DNC when she said, getting your plan together. Plan how you're going to execute this. This is your civic duty. If you are of voting age, at least 18 years old, this is your job as a citizen. This is your civic duty. Get your plans together. Think about it. Put some thought into it. Don't just let it happen to you like, oops. No. Because them be the main people on the internet posting all that negativity, talking all that bullish about the vote don't count, it don't matter, and all that blah, blah, blah. I mean, you didn't do your part. So if you turn 18, y'all young voters, y'all come on, put your big girl, big boy, draws on and come on. We got some adulting to do around here. And it really took me a while to understand why I had to do it. So this is part one of that plan. If you want home ownership, this is part one to getting ready. Being ready. This is part one. This is going to the websites, whatever state you live in, for the voters registration. Just Google it. Just do it. It'll pop up for you. Find out the rules. You may not be able to register to vote online because some places, they just want to play with you like that. They want to be old fashioned. Okay, cool. Play the little game. And then we'll get somebody in office that are making more convenient for voters so that you can update your registrations and more security protocols and places to make sure that your registration can't just be undone. So you really want to be able to do that. But first things first, play the game, go on into the office the way they want you to do it so you can have your registrations together. Do that. Make your plans. Your next step is to put some reminders in your smartphone, because I don't care if you got an iPhone, Android, whatever, one of them Google phones, who cares? Put a reminder, 2 reminders that you're supposed to be putting in. First reminder is a week before the deadline that you need to have your voters registrations in. That reminder is for you to go check and make sure that they didn't undo your voters registration for whatever reason they want to pull shit out their butts. So you want to check that. And then the second reminder is to check the day before the deadline that all registrations are due. That they just check, make sure nothing happened to yours, because you can't cast a ballot if you're not registered to vote. So step one in this process is not just about getting registered to vote today, but just checking. You want to check these deadlines. And I know we shouldn't have to do this, but this is one of them elections. We got to do it. All right. So we got another part to this coming up. Because I told you this is chess and not checkers. Okay. So the next part is the day before. You check, you make sure that everything is up to par. Make sure you're not moving around. I know life be life and it's hard, but try not to move residences and try as hard as you can to not do that. Try to make sure that your state ID and driver's license match that of your registration, please, so that you can properly register to vote. Please and thank you. Second, and I don't really think that this is second, but next, when does early voting begin in your precinct? Maybe in different cities and states, they call it something else, but I know for here, I always have to pay attention to my precinct, not my zip code, not my block, but that precinct. Where are they telling me to go? Utilize early voting. Go in and vote early. Get your coffee, get your tea, go on in and vote early and get it out of the way. The problem to waiting until November 5th, if that's election day, I think with the second Tuesday in November, Right. Whatever that date falls on this year. I'll put it in the details later. But the thing is, everybody be waiting to the last minute sometimes. And that can deter you and keep you from voting, is to have it stand in as long as line waiting on your turn. Why do that? Why do that in 2024? So we want to make sure that we get in when we're supposed to get in, do it early. Whatever your mail, maybe you have a disability, maybe you have some mobility issue, and getting around isn't easy or user friendly for you. If they have a place, that's for early voting, that's too far from you. If your state has it and you have the ability, just mail it in. And don't just put it in a mailbox on the street. Try to take it to the post office and get some type of certification tracking or something to make sure that your stuff gets to where it's supposed to get to. And mail it in by the deadline. Have it postmarked by the deadline. And for the young people and people that don't know what we mean by postmark, that means that's the date that it is stamped on the envelope that tells the receiver when you had it to the post office, got it to the post office. That's the best way that I can think of the definition. So when you see something and it said, make sure it's postmarked by this date, you want to make sure that you don't just go drop it into some outside mailbox and there's no way to verify that. But if you walk in and you have that stamped, or even do certified mail, this is to have tracking information so that you could track in your mail-in ballot, because all that tracking to be on a receipt. You got your receipt, you'll be able to track where it's going, make sure it gets where it's supposed to. Utilize that. That's an option if it's available. That is part of making your plan. Your plan is twofold. It's not just registering to vote. Well, yeah, your plan isn't just one thing. There's a 3-part process to this registration process, unfortunately. Not just registering to vote, or updating your registration, but making sure in some states that your registration isn't snatched out. And then secondly, your voting plan. How do you plan to cast your ballot? How do you plan to do that? Are you going to mail it in? Are you going to utilize early voting? Are you going to go election day? I would just say do the other two. If you can do the others, do the early voting. That gives you so much flexibility. If you have to be confined to one day on a Tuesday, and it could be a blizzard, a storm, a natural disaster on Tuesday, don't wait. Don't wait until Tuesday. Some people may not have the choice but to wait to the Tuesday of election days, but a lot of us can get that shit done before Tuesday of election days. So you could just sit with your family and friends. And that's one of the things that I miss with my dad not being here anymore. That every election day when he was here and we were together in the same city and state, and even when he was other states, we'd be on the phone. We did that together, always. Election day results. Oh, I miss that so much. I just miss that, doing that with my dad. But anyway, because the last thing that we did together is when we saw Biden win the election. He became president-elect. That was the Biden-Harris ticket that won. That was the last election that me and my dad saw together, as far as the presidential election goes. But anyway, that's your plan. Get your plans together so that you can execute it properly, cast your vote, and sit back and wait for the results. So the next part of this conversation, the next part is how now from using part 1, how we're going to move into part 2. That is Black Coffee. You become our registered voter. We put you onto the game to getting your credit piece so that you can be credit worthy to take advantage of that $25,000 down payment assistance that's the Harris Waltz ticket that they're trying to get in if they get elected. So we're going to keep talking about that. Okay. That's going to be part 2 of the conversation. I'm going to talk about that next time, how to prepare for that. Because even after November, she doesn't get inaugurated until January. So we still got to wait till January. And in the first 100 days of when they actually start implementing their policies and the things that they campaigned on in the first 100 days, typically, right? We'll be able to get a lot of things going. But again, like I said, this is chess, not checkers. I got to get a game and the things to do to make sure that when that bill goes across Congress, that's the House of Representatives and the Senate, I got to get a game to make sure that the people that you have sent to Congress from whatever state you're from, that they're in support of it. We're going to talk about that next because you got to get it passed by Congress before it can get signed into law by Kamala Harris. And then that program becomes available to people like us to get that down payment assistance. So we're going to talk about that next time. You know how to get yourself in position, to get yourselves credit worthy so you can qualify, because you can't make banks do what you want. So listen, that's another conversation. But you know what? Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that part 3 of the conversation. Part 2, we're going to talk about it getting into law. So you know what? The next wake up hour, we're going to talk about part 2, which is how do we, as the electorate, how do we make sure this gets passed? That's what we're talking about. So as always, I appreciate the support. I appreciate everyone showing up. Make sure that you are following us. You can also be following Dr. Shantae, but you can also follow Black Coffee Political Alliance. We are Black Coffee Bob on some of the same social media platforms. Thank you guys for joining for this crossover wake up hour. We got 2 more of this because this is a 2-part conversation. How do you, someone who's just watching, become a homeowner? This is about generational wealth and where it starts. It starts with home ownership. It starts with the land. Okay. And certainly if you are a descendant of American slaves, how do you get your part? That 40 acres and a mule thing that we've heard about so much. How do we get what was promised to us? Because even after the slaves were freed, we didn't get what was promised to us. We didn't get that. So I think that although reparations is a broad subject and there is really no way that we could ever be repaid for what our ancestors have done, there are things that can make our conditions a lot better. And we need to be able to have plans. So make sure you join the Black Coffee Political Alliance voting block. Make sure you join the New Life Movement Ministry so that we can give you the blueprint and empower you and enable you and get you where you need to be. How do you take advantage of this? How do you get in position to qualify for that $25,000 of down payment assistance for home ownership? So we got to think chess and not checkers. We got to be homeowners. There's nothing wrong with renting. But if we want to talk about generational wealth for us, our communities, we need to have that conversation on home ownership. We need to have the conversation about credit worthiness and how to fix your credit and get your credit together. That's part 3 of the conversation. So again, we're closing this conversation. This was a Black Coffee Wake Up Hour. We're talking about, I wanted to say that it was our crossover show with holistic relationships because it is our relationship with politics. So again, I've kind of crossed over these conversations together on both platforms. And then again, on Tuesday, we'll have a replay of this part 1. Part 2, the next part, we're going to talk about once we've done all of the things that have been discussed in this part 1 conversation, part 2 about how do we help the Harris Waltz ticket? How do we help them get there so that we can utilize the promises? How do we get to the point where when a presidential candidate is promising all of these things, how do we ensure? Because you can't just show up every 4 years. The primaries are every 2 years. So we need to talk about that. That's the next part of the conversation about how to ensure that the people from wherever we live in this country, when we send our representatives, our political representatives to the U.S. Congress, how we can help make this reality for us and really begin. I mean, it's just, yeah, there's more to talk about. Definitely more to talk about. So I'll see you all in the next Black Coffee Wake Up Hour crossover with holistic relationships. And this part 2 on that, getting that $25,000 down payment assistance for home ownership. How do you do that? It sounds great. How do you do that? And what does that look like? Especially for people who have never bought a home. I've bought properties before. I think I'm a kind of sort of subject matter expert that I can actually tell you how you do this. So I'll see you guys in the next show. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.